Hello everyone, this is my third Flutter video. If you want to check my previous two videos, you can check the description of this video. So in this video, I am going to discuss 10 Flutter widgets that every Flutter developer should know, especially the developers who have come from the web development background and who find developing apps in Flutter a bit difficult because Flutter has a different environment than a web development environment. So these 10 widgets are a must for every Flutter developer who want to develop UI in Flutter. And if you're finding it difficult to learn Flutter, then you must stick with this video and you must do good practice with these 10 widgets so that you can master Flutter, or even not if master, I think you can make the learning quite smooth. So let's start discussing the widgets. This is a skeletal app that I've created, the default app that is there when you create an app. And this is my main.dart file. And some of the widgets are already there and we can start discussing these widgets right away. So the number one widget is Material App widget. So Material App widget is the widget that we have to start with when we are developing a Flutter app. When a web developer starts developing a Flutter app, like he starts playing around with it, and the thing that we find difficult to understand is that just the skeletal app, why the skeletal app is so big and why so many things are needed. What happens if we remove most of the things and we just stick with maybe few of this? Will the app run or not run? So if you play around with it, you will find out that the basic things that we need to run an app smoothly or to build a UI is these many things. So the first thing is Material App, and everything below it should be wrapped between Material App. And I think that is how Flutter is built, and that is how things work in Flutter. So Material App is very important, and you should be knowing the properties that are used in Material App. Basically, in this app, there are three properties, that is title, theme, and home. So let's discuss these three properties. So title is basically not the title that is there on the app, but this title is used to distinguish the app from other Flutter apps. So basically, if you have more than one app on a device, then this title basically provides a identity, you can say, to the specific app. Now the theme is basically a property that allows you to define the theme elements that are going to be used in this app. For example, here we are giving primary swatch color blue. So the top bar of the app will be of this color. And if we want to give some different color to the top bar, we can just change the color here, maybe to red or green, and this will change the color of the top bar. There are many more properties of Material App, but we will stick to these properties for now. Flutter documentation is quite good if you want to explore more of the properties. So let's once check. Just if we type Material Flutter, we will get the no, not this one, I think. Yeah. So here you can read more about it, like what the material class does and what all properties it has. You can see that it has so many properties. And see, Flutter is also, like Flutter documentation is a type of encyclopedia. So I think you have to keep learning while you are building, and you have to keep exploring things. And most of the Flutter tutors or Flutter gurus, I would say, they say that what they say is that if you want to learn Flutter, learn from the existing codes. And if you want to learn from existing codes, you can even learn the codes that are there in the Flutter base. And suppose you want to check the details of this, I think it doesn't work in this editor, but if you open the code in Android Studio, then you can right away move to the definition of the code. So this is not working in Visual Studio, but Visual Studio is a little lighter editor, so I like this for that reason. Okay, so number 1 was material app, and the important properties are title, theme, and home. That is there when we build the first skeletal app. The second important widget is scaffold. So you have to use scaffold at many places, but you can see that here a scaffold is already used, and scaffold has property app bar, body. These are the important properties, and then there is floating action button. So basically this is a type of widget that allows you to define the layout of the app. For example, what will be there in the title of the app bar. So whatever text we will provide here will go to the title of the app bar. Again, in the body, whatever content we want, we can just mention in the body. And if we want to add something in the footer, maybe a button, so floating action button allows us to use a button on a specific area. You will find it on the bottom right side. There are other properties which allows us to put the things in the bottom of the app, the footer of the app. So again, you can go through the documentation to check out more of the properties. And this is the second important property that I came across, that is scaffold. The third one is the center. The center, again, you will find that you have to use at many places, and here you can see that the center has a property child, and I think that is the only property that is there which has been used here. So center is basically to keep the content in the center of the screen, and you can even define like along which axis you want to keep. For example, here it's mentioned main axis alignment should be center. You can, I think there are other options, like you can maintain, you can put it in end, you can put it in start, in space between, around. So you can play around with these properties and see how the content is placed. For now, I will again keep it to center. So center is a third important widget. The fourth important widget is column. So four widgets we already have in the skeletal app. The column is the fourth widget that I found very important in creating the layouts. Again, as the name suggests, column is used if you want to keep things vertically. If you want to keep contents vertically, one after another, then you can use the column widget. The column widget, again, you can see okay, so this main axis alignment is actually a property of column, because the center had only property child. The column has property main axis alignment and children. Again, in the children, you can see that here it has been used an array of text widgets. So there are 2 text widgets, and they are used in array. We can add more of the widgets in the similar way using column property. And there are a couple of many more widgets similar to column, which allows us to use arrays. Here you can see the children properties there. So children means there can be one or more than one child, and so this allows putting arrays of content under children property. Okay, so this 4 are already mentioned there, and the fifth one that I would say is container, and container is not mentioned here. So container is not mentioned here in the skeletal app, so we will check the documentation for this. So if we type container Flutter, then we will reach container class documentation, and there are also examples of container. So here you can see that container has some properties like margin, color, width, and height. So we can say that container is somewhat like a div that we use in web development. Basically, it provides a something which we can wrap the content around, and it has properties like margin, maybe padding, color, width, height. So it allows us to wrap things the way we want. Let me try to use this container somewhere. Maybe I will, if I get some better example. So in container also we can use a child. In this example there is no child, but if we see this example, there is a child if we want to keep things inside container. So let's try to use it in one of the text element. For example, let's keep this inside a container. And here we will mention child, and here we will close the container. Now it's giving some error. Let's see what's the error. So it prefers const. So let's add the modifier const. Again there is some error, and I think this error is because this container is not making much difference, because we have just added it around the text element, but we have not used any of its properties. So here I will mention the sixth important widget that we can use, that is important to learn, is edge insets. And here we can see edge inset is used. So we will just copy this and we will use it in the padding property. So container has padding property and we will use it here. So yes, this looks good. So you can see that container is something similar to div that we use in web development, and we have given it a property padding, so that there is a padding of 8.0 around this text element, and we have the text element as a child. While we discuss the seventh element, let's run this. So our seventh widget would be padding. So padding is something which is similar to container, but I would say it is more specifically used just for padding. Let's check out the documentation of padding. So we will type padding Flutter, and let's see what we get. So here we reach padding class, and that is what we were looking for. So in the documentation you can see that it is exclusively being used for providing padding to an element. So yeah, so it is pretty much for this purpose, but if we want something more advanced than just adding the padding, then we will be using container. If we just want to use padding, then we will use padding property, and there are many you will come across many cases where you will need just the padding, and I think the padding will be more appropriate there. So our app is still in the building stage, so let's wait for it. The eighth widget that I find important is expanded. So we will discuss this expanded in few minutes, because I think we are left with two to three more widgets. Before we discuss that, we will run the app and see how UI looks, because all these widgets that we are discussing will help us to build a better UI. So as you can see, the padding that we have given is not making much difference. So what we will do, we will increase the value of padding, and we will reload the app. Okay, so actually this padding is being used all around the text element, and you can see there is a big gap between 0 and the text you have pushed the button this many times, and also it's adding padding to right and left side. So that is the reason it's looking something like this. So what we will do, we will also see that if we replace this by padding element, then what happens, because the padding widget is something, the properties of padding element is something very similar to a container element that we are using at present. So we just have to replace this container with padding widget. It's giving us error. I think this is because it needs const modifier, and we will add const modifier, and yeah, so it's pretty much working. Now let's save things and let's reload the app and let's see what changes it brings. Most probably it won't make any difference in the UI, because whether we are providing padding with the padding widget or container widget, ultimately we are just providing the padding, and so the UI won't change. And with this we will move to the expanded widget. So let's check out the documentation of expanded widget. So we will type expanded Flutter, and this will bring us to the documentation of expanded class. And as you can see, I must say that Flutter team has done a very good job in the documentation, even though it has so many things in it, and when you start learning you might get lost and you might think that like it's so vast and so big, but I think things are so well organized and well documented, well explained. I won't say well explained, but I think that if you come across the same thing 2 to 3 times, you will get the thing that how it's being used. So as you can see here, expanded is basically occupying the complete space, and it expands to the area that is empty. So if we check out like a widget that expands a child of a row, column or flex so that the child fills the available space. So that's what exactly it's doing. So in our case, if we use expanded, it will push the elements either to completely the element that is above it will be pushed completely to the top, or the element that is below it that will be pushed completely to the bottom. So let's use it and see how it makes difference. So what we will do, we will first check the properties that are there in expanded widget, and accordingly we will use it and see how it changes the UI. So here a use of expanded is mentioned, and I'm just trying to figure out which one would be most appropriate to use. Basically I want to expand things vertically. I think this example will be good. So expanded has a child property, and this is a very simple example of expanded. It's just wrapping this container. So we will use this example and we will copy code from here, and we will wrap it. We will wrap the text, the second text widget, as everything is widget in Flutter. So we'll wrap this one. I think we have only two elements on the screen. Okay, one is the counter and second one is the text element. So why not yeah, let's try out, let's see what difference it makes. So it's not giving any error message or warning, so we'll just refresh the screen, and okay, so you can see that it changed the UI and it pushed the upper text widget to top, and because the upper text widget has a padding of 88, so there's still space around it, but most of the bottom area is being occupied by the counter text widget, and this will be more this will become more clear if we use a container. We'll use a container. We will wrap this counter text element in a container, and let's see if that gives more clear picture. So here is a container widget, and inside the container we'll use a child, and here we close it. I think it again needs okay, inside the container we haven't mentioned any property, so what we will do is that we will give it a color property, and let's color it in amber, and let's see, this will tell us the amount of space that is being occupied by the expanded element. So let's refresh the screen and see. Okay, so you can see that vertically it is occupying lots of space, and because we haven't defined any width, so width is just the size of the digit, that is 0 here, and if we increase the number and take it to 2 digit, then you can see that the width increased. So basically the width is the space that is being occupied by the element, and this expanded is pushing things upward. So I think that you must have got the idea like how this is working, and with this we will move to our next widget, that is the 9th widget, which is safe area. So let's open the documentation of safe area Flutter, and I'm not sure if there's much examples of safe area. There's not any examples of safe area, but we can definitely check out the description that is there. So safe area is a widget that insets its child by sufficient padding to avoid intrusion by the operating system. For example, this will indent the child by enough to avoid the status bar at the top of the screen. So different devices have different screen types, and some devices have the top screen size completely touching the top part of the top height of the mobile device. Some has more spaces. So the app, if you want your app to automatically detect this, I think you should wrap the scaffold part into the safe area. So that is what exactly we are going to do. We will wrap the scaffold in safe area, even though it's not going to make any difference as of now, because in our device the screen is working pretty much good. So but we will see like if it gives some error or not. So the scaffold will be wrapped in safe area, and let's check the closing of this. I think it's getting closed here. It's not giving, still giving error. So if we add a child, okay, so that is gone. Sorry. So I think this is how it's supposed to be used, and we will see if we are getting any changes in the screen. Let's reload the app. Okay, so I don't see any difference apart from that the top part of the screen just changed to black. I'm not sure if it was because of this safe area thing. I will let's where did that safe area go? Okay, it's here. So I will once remove this and again reload the app, because I was not able to notice any change. Okay, you can see that the top part of the screen is starting from the extreme top part. Okay, even though the app tab bar is not hidden, but the app is starting right from the top part of the mobile device. But if we add the scaffold, then it's definitely starting the screen of the app below the what should I say, below the visible part of the screen. The app is starting from the visible part, and that is what the scaffold is supposed to do. So you can just see that the blue part disappeared from top, and the app is starting exactly from where the tab bar is there, and the top part is now completely black. So yes, the scaffold is doing its job. So the safe area is doing its job though. So safe area is the 9th widget that is important, and I think you need it for almost all the apps that you will do. And last but not the least, it's row. So same as column, the row works, and the column works vertically, but the row works horizontally. So if you want to create elements in array but you want to create it vertically, then you can just use row. I found that this row is a bit different than the row that we used in web development Bootstrap, because that is basically a combination of columns and row that we use in Bootstrap. But here it's a bit different. If we are using columns, like we can use columns even without rows, and yeah, it's pretty much it. And the usage is a bit different. That is why I say that this is very much different than web development environment, and developer who come from web development background find it a bit difficult to gel up with. But if you keep practicing this 10 widgets that we just discussed, I think that designing UIs in Flutter will become quite easy. And if not, then it will definitely give you a strong base and you will get a bit confident. And I think the confidence is the thing that every developer needs when he's learning a new language. Because when I started learning Flutter, in fact even I am learning now, but when I just started, I got very much confused because things were very different from the web development environment. And when you try to learn but you are not able to learn, that is where you actually lose your confidence. So I think that if any developer that has just started learning Flutter, if he practice these 10 widgets, I'm sure he will be very much confident about Flutter development, and from there onwards the learning will become quite easy. So hope you guys have find this video interesting, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to check more videos, I have put the link in description. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. I will keep posting more Flutter videos. Do subscribe to the channel. I post videos on other programming language as well. If you are interested, do check out the channel. If you are interested in automation, home automation, or any other type of automation, do check out our channel. Is very much dedicated to automation. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye bye and have a nice day.